back to This Sacred Journey podcast. And today I'm super excited to introduce a very dear friend of mine, Yemanjo. Maybe a lot of people already know you through his epic music and his beloved, Irene. And actually, this interview for me is really exciting because I get to meet Irene as I'm interviewing her through this podcast. And we're gonna learn today about their project that they're building together, their new album, Semillas de Poder, and their process of creating it, and so much more. So, welcome, Yamanjo and Irene, to the podcast.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Great
So
to be
happy
here.
to be here.
Yeah. So right now you're in Thailand, right? This is where we're speaking from. Great.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yes, I want to share a little bit of how I met Ben, actually, because it's actually a very dear memory for me. My first time in Guatemala, it was like in the end of 2025. I went to a retreat and
2015.
2015, yes, actually,
Yeah.
10 years
10
ago.
years.
Around this time, I went to Guatemala for the first time, and I was in this retreat, a plant medicine retreat, where we had the privilege to have Ben as our private musician. He was playing music for us every day. And actually, at the end of the retreat, we had an ecstatic dance. And it was Ben who was the DJ. And that was my first experience in an ecstatic dance. And I'm never going to forget it because it was life-changing. Like since then, I think the connection into music and movement and connection to the embodiment through dance became like it was like a whole new world for me. That was like, oh wow, like you can actually dance in such a free way, completely sober, and feel this level of ecstasy and connection even to the divine through prayer, through your body, through dance. So this is since then, ecstatic dance has been like a huge part of my life, and I'm very excited to introduce people even to that concept in my podcast of for those out there who've never been to an ecstatic dance, we're gonna learn more about that because Ben has been doing this forever. And yeah, so that's a little bit of the backstory of how I met Yamanjo Ben Harris.
That's cool. That's funny because that was that was probably one of the first ecstatic dances I ever played because that was the year that I started doing it.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so it's been a 10-year journey for me as a DJ so far.
Mhm.
But it's good to know that it was a good experience for you and that it stayed with you for so long because I definitely feel like I've come a long way since then as a DJ and as a performer. So
Absolutely. And like now I feel honored. I'm like, whoa, I was there on your first ecstatic dances.
yeah,
I've seen
maybe
you
not the first, but one of the first.
one of the first because I've seen you
Yeah.
also grow as a DJ through the years. Back then in Guatemala when it was like barely starting this movement of ecstatic dance and then bumping into you in California and like this like different festivals and also what which one the last one that we bump into like somewhere in Colorado and seeing you
Oh, yeah.
in your gift in like your full embodiment of the DJing that you're doing, like how you move people, like the people around just being in ecstasy and dancing. And even I remember a few years ago, like about 7 years ago in California, I remember we were in Bhakti Fest, which is a huge festival, and you were there. You were just there helping the Hanuman Project and maybe doing your DJs. And I was in the bathroom and I heard this random women next to me being like, "Oh my God, did you see Emma and Joe is here?" And I was like, "Whoa, like Ben is like actually a famous person now." And they were so excited that you were there. So seeing the impact that you're doing and how you've been growing in your gift, it's been also so beautiful to witness for me, like as a friend over here being like, yay. So proud of
Thank
you,
you.
really proud of your
That's
journey.
how
Mhm.
that's how I know that I'm really making it is when like there's ladies' room gossip about me.
Yeah, there was like they were like raving about you, and I'm like over here, I'm like, oh, this is my friend. Anyways, so happy for you. And okay, so now let's dive in. Before we go into the whole album story, I want to hear, or I want you guys to introduce yourselves to the people, the listeners, so they get to know you, who you are as a person, what got each of you into this path. And maybe we can start with Ben. Yemanjo. So his matrix name is Ben, birth name, and Yemanjo is your artistic name. So people don't get confused when I mention those two names. And yeah, maybe we can start with you, Ben. If you can tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, where you come from, and what got you into this path.
Yeah, so I was born and grew up in Northern California, in the Bay Area, and was exposed from an early age to a lot of different music. The Bay Area, for people that don't know, is definitely a big like cultural melting pot. There's people there from all over the world, and there's music from all over the world. And I was privileged to be exposed to global music from a young age, and I also had parents that encouraged me to study music. I played trumpet from when I was age 10, and later got into hand drums and percussion from different cultures, and played in different bands all through childhood, sang in bands, played in orchestras and concert bands. And I came into music from a career in theater. So I was a theater actor, and really got to like spend a lot of time on stage and performing in front of people, which I think definitely helps with what we do now. um, and yeah, so I came into electronic music a lot later, like I said, about 10 years ago in 2015, when I sort of discovered this whole world of ecstatic dance, and found that particular format where people are coming specifically to dance, and specifically to dance without any distractions of conversation or alcohol or drugs, and really just feel the music and let it move them. I found that was the best avenue for me to present this music to people, because I could see an instant feedback. And you get, as a DJ, you get the the energy from the crowd, and you really have this conversation, even though there's no words being exchanged. There's a really beautiful feedback loop that happens between my energy and the energy of the dancers. And to me, that was just like the best way to share my music with people, because I could see in real time how it was affecting people. And yeah, I mean, the story is a lot longer than that, of course, but that's kind of the story in a nutshell. And this project, Yemanjo, started as started after I went to Colombia for the first time in 2013, and I became acquainted with the medicine of yahe, which is the Colombian version of ayahuasca. And I became very interested with the music that was used in the ceremony there. And I became inspired to write my own medicine music. Mm-hmm. And so the first album, and the first two albums actually of this project, were kind of inspired and based in that tradition. And that was before I was producing myself. I was working with other producers, and I was living in New York at the time, and getting exposed to that whole world of music, which is also vast and amazing. And yeah, that's how it started, and it's evolved since then for 10 years. And then Irene and I met each other 3 years ago, and we'll get more into that later, but I'll leave it at that.
And just a little parentheses, Yemanjo, it's connected to that goddess Yemanja, right? The ocean. Or can you tell us a little bit about that etymology?
Yeah. So Yemanjo is a name that was given to me through my travels in Brazil, through my crossing paths with people in the Candomblé religion, which is a syncretic Afro-Brazilian religion. And Yemanja is the name that it's inspired by. And Yemanja is the Orisha, or goddess of the ocean. Yeah. So she's a mother, nurturing, protecting energy. And according to people from that religion, I'm a filho de Yemanjá, or a son of Yemanjá,
Mm.
and always felt very connected to that spirit. And so that name was kind of given to me, and I around that time was starting the project, and I felt like, oh, this is the name for this project.
That's beautiful. I had never heard that story. Thank you so much for sharing it. Amazing. Okay, so now let's move to Irene. So, yeah, like I'm gonna get to know you alongside with everybody listening. So if you want to tell us a little bit about your background, what got you into this path, and all the way up until before you met Ben. We're trying to weave the stories.
So yeah, I'm my journey with music starts really young when I'm in Venezuela, where I'm from originally, and um, I had this amazing choir teacher in school, and she was one of those teachers that just like brings out the best of every kid and like makes them fall in love with music.
Mm.
And so my sister started with her, and I was just like, I want to be part of that. I want to also sing. And I mean, I was in a very musical family. We loved music, but it was her as a teacher that really kind of brought me into wanting to be part of that. And so, in what is like, I think third grade or something like that, you're able to be part of the choir. And so I auditioned and was part of that choir, and it was what I loved most. It was really going to that choir, being with the kids, learning songs in every language. Of course, a lot of traditional Venezuelan songs. Um, and it was just the most exciting thing to do when I went to school. On the other side, I also like my childhood has that as one part, and the other side was this nature camp. I just love this kind of adventure nature camp that would take us out there. I grew up as a really kind of timid child who was a little afraid of everything, to be honest, like overstimulated, very highly sensitive. And so nature and these nature camps were kind of a refuge for me, and also showed me how to be more adventurous with life and how to go towards those things that were caused a little fear inside of me. And I just saw that as a child. I was like, okay, like whenever I climb that mountain, literally climb that mountain or go on those rapids, like something in me gets unlocked. And so between these two, I was just like, okay, I'm discovering myself. And this is at 9 years old, like quite young. These were
Wow.
two things that felt so important, and like I'm becoming something that is much closer to what I want to be, because I feel so trapped inside of myself in the world. And so, well, fast forward about 5 years, Venezuela begins to collapse, and it's a really difficult situation for the whole country. And um, that's a really long story that every Venezuelan knows very, very, very well. But at some point, my parents decide that it's time to go, that we just cannot really sustain what's about to come. And they were very smart. We were one of the first people to leave the country. At this time, a third of the country has left. So it's a crazy number.
Oh.
And I feel like like one of the privileged ones to have left so early, but also, with this pain of like having to leave. And that caused a lot of turmoil in my life. I mean, parents in survival mode. We're immigrants now, very fortunate immigrants in the sense that my parents were sponsored by their companies. They knew English. So, in the smoothest way, still encountering a lot of the difficulties of immigrating. And that really causes us to be really focused, me on learning English, them on like, settling down and making sure that we're okay. My sister as well, we're all in that journey. And I kind of stepped away from music, from a lot of those things. And we went to Houston, so concrete jungle, very different life. And
Mhm.
so I really feel like there was something else to do that was really important. And while music was kind of there with me and art was there with me, it was just like we needed to survive and we needed to make it to the next step. And so after that, I do feel like I got both like a little bit lost, and I would get found in the way. It was like a journey of feeling like I don't really feel like I belong. I don't really feel like I'm from here or from there. So I do feel like I'm this floating being kind of going around and finding things. And there's little moments of clarity. I studied psychology at UT, and it was really in that search of like, where are we as humans? What's good for us? What do we need to really come back to ourselves? And from that, I began to see like, oh, creativity feels like this very important factor that just felt really like life is there. You know, there's creativity, and you see like the spark of life and life force that appears in people's eyes. And so I began to search that. I studied art therapy, and I also moved to Oregon after that. And so I regained this relationship with nature that felt so important. And I was like, okay, I'm beginning to find myself again, but still, you know, not fully there.
Yeah.
And I moved to Europe, and I went full on city, which was funny. It was like going against the things that I knew were good for me, but I think there was the spirit of exploration that I also needed to go for. And in that process, I kind of got even a little bit more lost, and I crashed. Mine is like a journey of like, I crashed. It's not like a smooth, graceful journey of like, and here I slowly followed my path into like who I am. It's like, oh no, I took wrong decisions a lot of times and did things that weren't good for me, while still like having my heart and like being kind and finding, you know, all of those things, but kind of not doing those things that were really good for me. And so at 29, during the pandemic, I really had a crash, like nervous system collapse. And I ended up being like, and I'm in Barcelona at that time, far from family. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not doing well. Like that little call. And she was incredibly kind, and I needed to go back home. It was like that moment of like, I need to be held by the mother, like by my mother.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so she took me in, and I went to Mexico where she had a house, and she opened a room for me. And it was a year of like, just incredible. It was a whole year of like really incredible return to myself. Like no friends. I really needed to like be alone. Lots of time by the sea and the jungle and by myself. I was sewing, I was making art. And there was like a reconstruction. I felt like I was kind of building myself back up and asking myself who I wanted to be. And just realizing, okay, art is incredibly important. Nature, I need to be close to nature. Like that supports me in this journey of being highly sensitive. And then in that time, I see a picture of Lake Atitlan. I had never heard of it. Yeah, and I was like, how has this like passed my consciousness and my awareness? And so I see it, and I have one of those, you know, those feelings of like, I have to go. Like it is like your whole body goes forward. And so I start getting my things ready. I'm like, okay, I've healed what I needed to heal for now. I'm gonna pack up, and then I end up going to Lake Atitlan, and with a one-way ticket, not knowing how long I was going to stay there. And within a few weeks, I meet Ben. Actually, during my first ayahuasca ceremony that I have, and he was singing for it, and it was really one of those moments of kind of meeting someone that I wanted to be close to. And he started singing Venezuelan songs to me, and it was just the most amazing. Like at the end of the ceremonies, and it was just so beautiful to hear like these songs I grew up with in this lake that I had no idea it existed while the sun is rising. And it was just, yeah, one of those really kind of profound, beautiful moments.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing all of that. It's great to get to know you and your background, and very inspiring also to hear like your journey. I'm also immigrant from Mexico into the States, so I understand that. And one thing that I feel like people who've listened to my podcast for a while will know my love for Lake Atitlan, but also most of my guests so far have been people that I met at the lake. So that place, everything you describe is just such like a, to me, it's like paradise. It's like it has its own frequency, has its own way of being. Like people there are, everybody, it's like in a certain level of consciousness. We all like somehow get drawn into that place. And it's for those of you who don't know, have never been, I really recommend going. And it's so like for me, when I meet someone that's been at the lake, I'm like, okay, sister, brother, even if we've never met, because it's that understanding. So nah, it's so beautiful. All right. So now that we're here, I want to hear now the story of how the two of you got to know each other and how that evolved the relationship and all the way into the creation of this project because this is collaboration that you guys are doing. So I'm really curious to hear that story.
Yeah. So as Irene was starting to talk about, we met in an ayahuasca ceremony at the Lake Atitlan on the shores of the lake. And it was
Wow.
a ceremony that I organized with my teacher from Colombia, who I've been working with, sort of assisting in ceremony and playing music with since 2014 when we both lived in New York. And I ended up kind of he went back to Colombia and we were out of touch for a few years, but then I started to bring him back to Guatemala because I really felt like his presence and his magic could really be well received there. And so this was actually, I brought him there 3 times, and this was the last time that he came. And Irene saw a poster or saw the flyer for it and was drawn to come. And so that's how we met. And for people who are familiar with the medicine in that world, like it's an amazing it's an amazing place to meet someone from when you're so open and you're so vulnerable, and you're feeling so whole, and to meet someone in that state is just a very special thing. And yeah, like she was able to meet me in one of my highest states, because like to be able to play music in that context is like, it's such an honor and such a privilege, and such a beautiful thing for me. And to be able to do it with this master, this shaman teacher friend of mine, who's such an important person in my life. Yeah, she was able to meet me at a very, very special time for me. And it's actually that was the last time, or no, that wasn't the last time, but it's one of the last times that I was together with Freddie, my teacher. So yeah, and we just connected very deeply, and almost immediately began playing music together, playing music in ceremony with other people. And we did that for a while, and we're just like learning songs together, and maybe occasionally writing a song together before we started to make this music that we're making now and performing together around the world. That started about a year later. Was it a year later or 2 years later? I don't know.
Year and a half.
A year and a half later. A year and a half later, I finally was like, wait, why isn't she like on stage with me doing this? We were at Envision Festival in 2024, and we saw this duo called Santi and Tuche, which is a couple. She's from Turkey and he's from Paraguay, and they do this beautiful live set together where he plays guitar and they both sing together, and it's amazing. And they do it in Turkish and Spanish and English, and after seeing that, we were just so electrified. We were like, why don't we do this together? Like you're a great singer, like we can do this together. And Irene is actually a really good lyricist too. She's written songs and poems throughout her life. So she started to write the words, and I'm producing the music. And so it evolved into this really beautiful collaboration where we're making the songs together, and we're bringing in our own ideas and like letting them interact. And I think it's having a really nice result.
Wow, I love that. I love how like sometimes, especially like how you say like in spaces that we really are living our fullest potential, like you playing music for your teacher in an ayahuasca ceremony. That's when we attract the souls, like the right people who we're meant to connect with, and how you guys came together and somehow perfectly your gifts aligned with each other's gifts so that everything gets even more amplified. So I love the story. Thank you for sharing with us. And
Yeah, and from this side as well, like for me, after having, singing was always there with me, but it was more of like I think a lot of us do. We sing in our own homes, and we're
the
not
shower.
sharing a lot of, yeah, in the shower. We're like good shower singers, and we know how good it feels to sing, like, oh, what a
Mhm,
great sensation to kind of bring our voices forth and feel that vibration. Um,
mhm.
but it wasn't until, choir happens, I do a lot of other things, a lot of other types of art. And it wasn't until I meet Ben again that I'm like, I really want to bring this forth more. And the first song we sung was me being like, hey, I really want to sing with you. Can we like try this out? And it just really worked out, and it felt so good for both of us. And so it kind of began to evolve from there.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, I really am so grateful to this relationship to kind of bring that back up for me, and put it as a forefront in my life as something that I'm really, really looking forward to every single day.
I love it. In the story that you told us, you were singing in the choir when you were little, right? Like when you were a child, maybe like until what age were you singing? Just like as a
I was
teenager?
singing until yeah, until 14 or 15. I was part of different choirs, and I took kind of individual singing lessons as well. And so that was like a part of my life that I was very engaged in. And then it just
And
kind
then
of
nothing.
popped
Wow.
off. Yeah.
And that's something that I find very much with ayahuasca itself, like with the actual medicine. I find that a lot of people find their voice again if they've been artists in the past and then shut that down. Or like people like me that have been a shower singer forever. And I don't consider myself a singer or an artist, but it made me want to sing more and open my voice in ceremony. So I feel like ayahuasca has this like part of the medicine is to help us open that like open the voice, and that's amazing that both of you found your yourselves coming together through the medicine and reconnecting to your original passion, which is music, and like being able to merge it in such a beautiful way. It's so inspiring. I love how like I always love to see beautiful like conscious couples and like what I see as divine union. And like I love to hear their stories of how they came together. And I really feel like right now is that time of like a lot of us in the spiritual path have been doing a lot of inner work alone. And I keep seeing more and more people finding their person who they're able to bloom together as a couple. And it's usually through beautiful co-creations where not necessarily like I feel like in the old ways we would think like, oh, having children, and it's not that it's out of the table, but having a children is what's going to keep us together. But now I see more and more people coming together to create projects, to like merge gifts, to bring what they're here to share with the world together. And then if the children come, that's extra. But I find that so beautiful how sometimes these projects become the children that are birthed through these unions. And I'm really excited to speak about your child that's coming, that's being gonna be born. And
It definitely feels that way a lot. Like it's our child that we have to like keep nurturing, and it's
Yeah.
not, it's not always easy. Like we live like mostly on the road. Like we have a base now, which is Costa Rica, but we're only there about 3 or 4 months of the year, and the rest of the time we're on the road. And we're like trying to like sustain the passion and the creativity while we have to like figure out all the daily things of living and where we're going to sleep and how we're going to
wow.
feed ourselves. So, and yeah, like, like interpersonal stuff comes up, and we're, you know, we're sometimes in different places with you know, where we are vis-a-vis the project. And so it's a constantly evolving process, as you know, like with any relationship. But
Hmm.
when you have the fact that we're traveling together, we're living together, we're basically together 24/7, and we're also like working on this stuff together all the time.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, yeah, like sometimes sometimes we need to be like, I need to like take a little space for a few
Yeah,
hours and
for
bring
sure.
back my own energy.
And
Yeah.
different rhythms, you know, like uh, just noticing, I feel like, especially as women, we have more of like a wave that changes, like, you know, through our period. I am
Yeah,
generally a slower person. I am like, I like to go a little slow.
same here.
And that is yeah, and Ben is really forward and has a lot of energy and is able to like stand up and go, which has been really useful for the parts of me that I'm like, no, I just want to stay here. It's like, no, let's go, let's go for it. And so it's lifted that up. And I think on the other side, there's also been this like, let's slow down and like let's
Mm,
go, like let's breathe into this for a second, which I think
mm.
has kind of brought a different, there's a different rhythm when we're together than when we're separate. And so that also, I feel like it's part of the project, it's part of what we're creating.
It's like finding that balance, right? Like I hear you saying like Ben is very like action forward. That's very masculine energy. Like I see the sun energy and then the moon with the rhythms, like the feminine, it's more like internal. So that's beautiful too, because it's like learning to just exist. And then add that to like a partner, like it's a constant mirror. I feel like
Mhm.
that's very intense and like living and traveling and everything together. I wonder how you see all of these like internal transformation because when you're in relationship, you're constantly like I feel like transforming. Like the partner becomes that mirror and how this journey of your relationship has been translated into your work, into your music that you're creating.
Huh. I haven't actually like given full thought to that.
Mhm.
Um, I think for me it is I have a little bit of that perfectionist like little tick behind me that will kind of make me freeze, stop, and not do, you know, not actually put things out there. And it's been really incredible to kind of go on this back and forth and have Ben be like, put it out there, you know, like move through it and go into it. And I think it's just not only useful for making art, but useful for any aspect of life to be like, go out into the world and go and put those things out and learn in that process, you know, allow yourself to be that student that goes through the full process of getting better and better, not by like sitting on it, but by actually doing and being in that action. So for me, that's been what I see this relationship really doing for my own inner work. And I can see it transforming and I can see me going back into patterns and going back forth. And so really using kind of, or letting this project be a teacher in so many ways and Ben being one of the guides within that process because there's so many things that come into this project. So that's how I would see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like what you mentioned, like that process of like showing up even when we're scared. That's like the definition of courage, right? Like courage
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you're not afraid. It's meaning that even with fear, you're choosing to show up. With courage, like Spanish, corazón, it comes
Mm-hmm.
from that etymology of heart, corazón. So like moving with your heart and finding that. So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so with all of that said, now I really want to jump into why we decided to come into this conversation, which is the baby, the project you're coming to co-create, which is called Semilla de Poder. Semillas,
Mm-hmm.
Semilla de Poder. Uh,
Semillas.
yeah, so I feel honored again because I already listened to some of the music that hasn't been released yet. And oh my goodness, I just gotta say, like I couldn't stop dancing. Like the whole time I was listening to the songs, I couldn't stop dancing. Even the first time I started listening to it, I was already singing it, and I'm like it's so catchy, like it really gets to you, and I'm like, how am I singing it? See, if I barely have listened to it, it's beautiful. I can't wait for people out there to listen to it. Obviously, at the end of the podcast, I'm gonna play it here so everybody can listen to a little clip of it, but also we're gonna link the Spotify and everything. But with all that said, I want to go into your creative process, like how did the songs came to be, the name of the project, the energy and the vision behind it.
Yeah, so Semillas de Poder is the name of the album and also the title track, Semillas de Poder, which is Spanish for seeds of power. And this song and this album as a whole is inspired by a proverb or a saying from the Mexican social justice movement, which says, "They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds."
Wow.
Um, and that actually, through our going into it, we realized that the Mexican social justice movement actually borrowed that from a Greek poet. I can't remember the name of it, but that actual phrase comes from originally from a Greek poem. But anyway, we were very inspired by this sentiment, and the song kind of takes that from takes inspiration from that, and it's kind of in the tradition, I would say, of like a lot of these old classic revolutionary Latin American folk songs. Would you say that it's inspired by that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we love these. We have a lot of these revolutionary songs from South America that were the anthems of political movements that were happening, and so these songs, people would carry them with them, and we've both been super inspired by that, and the way that music actually also becomes this place of resistance and this place of
Mm.
union for things that actually matter for people here in this 3D reality that we're in, so.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of places in the world where people are feeling very powerless right now. They're not feeling that source of people power, and um, the the ruling parties and the ruling classes are definitely contributing to wanting to make people feel powerless, because when people feel powerless, they can't resist, they can't organize themselves to make their lives better. And this song is about recognizing our own power as parts of nature. We are integral with nature, and we can go back to nature as a source of spiritual power and strength. And through that, we can bind ourselves together and make change.
Wow.
So that's what Semillas de Poder is about.
It's amazing. I love that. Like, and that's so true. Like what you just said out there, like the last part of how can we reclaim our power? And sometimes, actually, most of the times, all the times, I would say, is coming back into nature, even to our own bodies, which is nature, because we're so disconnected from our bodies that this is how we're so easily able to be controlled because we don't even know ourselves. But like the moment that we reconnect to our bodies, we come back into our power. And a lot of the times, because we don't have access to our actual body, nature becomes that way, that gateway to like come back. So thank you so much for that message. And
Yeah, and to add a little to that, like the more that I get into the sense of nature connection and us as nature, like humans as nature, the more that I see really that nature, what we call nature, is our extended body. I mean, the things that we eat, the breathe, our connections to other bodies that regulate us. It is truly, if we can't find it in our body, we can find it in water, we can find it in a mountain, in a tree, even another body. So it is all
yeah.
accessible to us to come back.
That way you said that nature is an extension of us. It's even in that song that we all always sing when we're in Temazcales or around the fire of like water, ¿cómo? Tierra mi cuerpo. Like earth is
Uh-huh.
my body, water is my blood, earth is
Mhm.
my breath, and fire is my spirit. Like we literally contain the elements. And That's when we cannot access them inside, we go in front of the fire to reconnect to spirit. We go into the waters to reconnect to our emotions. It's like this reciprocity, this energy of like this mirroring of nature is outside of me. When I forget the beauty within, I can go and watch a sunset or go and sit in front of a flower and then something ignites. And I think that that message of like, how can we find our power even through what most people would think that's so simple, like really, like how, like most people would think of like fighting, and something else of like power, but bring in that idea of like reconnecting to nature can like reconnect us, plug us back into the remembrance of who we are, and then that will remind us that we've always been incredibly powerful. We just forgot. So yeah, that's beautiful. Hmm. And there's that song, Semillas de Poder, that I couldn't stop dancing to. And there's also the other song that you sent me called Lucho. So I want to hear more about also that song and what inspired you to create it, what's the message behind it, etc.
Yes. So this one's connected to this sense of truth and our own personal inner truth. I feel like in a world of so much information coming at us from all of these places, and with the rise of AI in the world, and like the kind of it's more and more difficult to know what is true. And so there is this search, at least for me, in this song of like, where do I find truth? And the song starts with I find truth in geography. When I look at mountains, I find that truth. When I look at art and poetry, I see that truth. When I see shining eyes, I see that truth. And so it's coming back to what are the things that actually still are palpable and tangible for me to be here with what is true. And it is once again this return to nature. This return, the second part talks about empathy and this connection to our empathy for each other, for the other, and how in those places we speak for one another. We have the capacity to like hold each other up whenever we've been silenced. And so yeah, what else do you find in this song?
Yeah, I think for me, the song is about reclaiming our hold on truth, like what is objectively true. Because I don't know about you, but it seems like it's becoming harder and harder for people to have a grasp on what is real in the world. Like we're living so much through our screens and through this like hall of mirrors of reality, and there's so much misinformation and conspiracy theories and all these things out there, and it's actually like starting to make society fall apart, I think, in a lot of
Kind of fight with one another. So much separation.
When we can't agree on what is true and real, it's really hard to make any progress and govern ourselves and like make our societies work. So for me, yeah, it's about reclaiming this idea of truth. Like we have to agree on what is true in order to get ourselves out of this situation.
And how do you connect? Because I feel like truth, like I feel like my spiritual path have always been in like the search for truth, and then sometimes I wonder, like, actually, I wonder what is actually truth because we live in the Maya, right? Like everything is eventually like there's a ultimate truth, but it's also like everybody has their own perception of the truth, and sometimes it's not that my perception of the truth is wrong or right. It's just that it's different. We're looking at the same thing from different perspectives. So how do you identify when it's like absolute truth versus your own truth? Am I making sense? Like,
I mean, I really feel like that's such a big question, and perhaps
yeah.
something we won't necessarily answer without like a philosophical kind of PhD. But I do have something that for me is super important, which is where do I find what's true for me, and that allows me to move from my values, from what is important to me, and allows me to be the person that I want to be within my communities. And that to me is like the core of the message. It is, how do I stay in integrity with who I am And how do I find those places where I'm like, this activates me, this is true to me? And where do I find the places where I'm like, actually, that's not true? Like the little voice that says I'm powerless, or the little I can't voice that has just, like just kind of circled within my head, or whatever else that comes in that has been there for a long time or is new. It is like, how do I actually get to what is true right here? So I mobilize myself from there.
And as you're saying that, I just want to say real quick, like as she was speaking, for those of you who are not watching the video, she was pointing to her solar plexus. Like you were saying, like I feel it here in my body, like so you feel it in your gut, right? That's yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben, I interrupted. Yeah.
No. I was just gonna say there's in the chorus of the song, there's kind of an echo of a similar sentiment from Semillas de Poder, and a similar message runs throughout the whole album and all of our music. The chorus goes, lucho por la verdad, sé que la voz de la tierra nos guiará.
Wow.
So I fight for the truth. I know that the voice of the earth will guide us. And again, it's the message of go back to nature, look at how nature behaves, look at how everything in this web of life is connected, and everything, contrary to the conception that we used to have, which is like dog eat dog, survival of the fittest, right? We're now actually discovering the reality that everything works in concert in nature. Everything in the end is a symbiotic relationship of a kind, right? There's no waste in nature. Everything that is waste in nature becomes food for something else. So look to the example of nature and find the order and the truth that can exist.
I love that. So true. So true. I feel like nature is eventually the greatest teacher. Like, because I've in my path, I've studied many different theologies, religion. I love philosophy and things like that. So I read this book and then that book, and just to try to understand other people's perspective. And at the end of the day, where I find that, like, what feels like Irene was saying in my gut, like in my body, the most truth is when I go into the mountain and meditate, or I'm walking around the mountain, or I'm listening, like sitting next to a river in silence. That's where the truth speaks. Like the messages sink in, where like everything is so there, like the mysteries of the universe can be found in nature. Like looking at a flower, you can find more wisdom sometimes than in a super huge sacred text. Which, I mean, I love them all. I love all the books, but sometimes, I mean, they are created by humans, which so much of the mind comes through, and nature is unobstructed, is pure. Like I feel like when we really slow it down and learn how to listen to the subtle, and like learn how to calm the mind to listen to the elements, to listen to nature, we can find so much wisdom there, like beyond any sacred text, any philosopher, whatever. That's been my experience, and I really appreciate this. Like album seems like an ode to nature, like an honoring of nature, and that remembrance of how important she is, and how we can't be here, we cannot live this human experience without the earth, without our bodies, without the elements, and how much we take her for granted in this society, how much we don't take care of her, how much we live in constant consumerism, disconnected from the earth, like living in like you said earlier, Irene, like jungle cities that are concrete cities that with shoes inside a box, like living in this, like like in our little cubicle, working in front of a computer all day, and we hardly ever connect to nature. We eat foods that are processed, like put in the microwave, all this chemically infused foods, and like we're so incredibly disconnected that the process of reconnection into the earth, like back to who we are meant to be, because we're born from the earth. This is our nature. We come from her. And how we've been so incredibly deviated in the remembrance of who we really are, and coming back into that origin. I feel like that's been, in my case, my spiritual path. It's like the remembrance is so much more simple than we made to believe in our heads of how that would look like. And one more thing I want to say about that I've been really sitting with the last few years. Because when I started my spiritual path, and I feel a lot of listeners are in a spiritual path, my idea of spirituality was like blasting out of my body, astral traveling, getting enlightened, so like I will not come back into this earth. And the more that I've gone into this, at this point, I've been in this path for over 15 years. And I would say also plant medicines really helped me with this. But I have been able to realize that actually the purpose of being human is to learn how to be human, learn how to be in our bodies. And the realization of that is like the ultimate spiritual path of not disconnecting from the body, but coming deeper into the body and realizing like how much we have disassociated from the body. And the moment that we come back into the body, we recover our power, we recover our wisdom, we recover the memory of who we really are from the origin. We hold in our bodies all of the mysteries of creation because we are nature. Like it's in we're made of stars, you know, like stardust, and we're made of the earth and all the elements. So this journey to me has been like of embodiment now, not of like disembodiment and disconnection, but and it's been hard. It's not fucking easy. It's like it's painful at times. It's so uncomfortable. It's like constantly it's looking at your shadow, looking at your the stuff that's been there, that's been repressed, the trauma. But I think like we have to be willing. And at this point, there's not a, I feel like it's an urgency. Like we need more people willing to be in their bodies, to look at nature, to learn how to treat our bodies and nature and each other in with love, with harmony, with reciprocity. Because we're in a space of crisis. Like if humans continue the way we've been going, like completely disconnected, completely mistreating ourselves, but also the earth, we're heading towards destruction. And I've I follow many, many people, like one of them, Zach Bush, which I don't know if you guys here have heard him, but he speaks about like we might be in the brink of extinction as a humanity. And if we don't wake up, if we don't realize this, if we don't realize we are nature, and like if I don't honor the earth, and like if I'm destroying the earth, I'm destroying myself because I'm an extension of that. That's where we're heading. So this message that you're bringing through your music, I think it's so needed right now. And I love how music becomes this way of healing, like resistance, where you said it in it. It's like a way of resistance. And like, how do we get up and like remember our power through dance, through music, through singing, and music itself, the vibration of music, it's medicine, right? It's how all of creation is created. So the fact that we're singing this anthem towards the earth versus reggaeton or like this other music that's super mainstream, that's all about like crazy shit that is just toxifying our mind. Instead of doing that, like we sing medicine songs as a resistance of like to all of that, to all the contamination that we hear in the social media, that we hear in the music, the mainstream, that we're receiving constantly. How can we stand up in that power and do this from a place of joy and celebration? I love it.
Yeah, and I find that so important, you know, that we do actually kind of build this capacity to be in our joy, because life is really hard. There's a lot of hard things that are happening, and I do believe that on the other hand, also holding that space for joy, it is that as humans we do feel a lot of pain. There's a lot of grief that happens, especially if you're building your capacity to be more and more empathic, seeing things that are happening in the world and being aware. It becomes heavy. It becomes hard to digest all those things. And so finding communities, finding art, music that actually elevates you and helps you move through the difficult things that we're going to allow ourselves to feel because we're becoming more human is just absolutely essential. And that is part of what we also want to do, is not like hide the difficulties of the world and ascend into a plane where everything is perfect. It is like, we're human, we're imperfect, things are hard sometimes. So let's make sure that we also like fill ourselves up so that we can face everything that we came here to face.
I
Yeah,
love
and I like how you describe the album as an ode to Mother Earth, because
it.
we sort of our tagline for it is our love letter to Mother Earth.
Mhm.
Ah,
And um, we, you haven't heard all the songs yet, but there's each song is sort of an ode to a different aspect of nature. So there's like a river song, there's a
mm,
song, um,
Palomita.
there's a song to the bird Palomita, there's a fire song, um, yeah, and so we really try to like take all these different aspects of nature that we love, and just like make an offering of gratitude to them.
I love it. Yes, this is very exciting for me because what you were saying also, Irene, of how sometimes, the healing can be hard and difficult. I heard not so long ago, um, a Hopi, it was a Hopi elder that was saying like the reason we survived is because like through joy and celebration. It's like by getting up, and also I see this a lot in like African communities, how they survived and went through so much, being able to be resilient through slavery and everything that these communities have gone through. What got them through was coming together and singing and dancing and like choosing to be in celebration through all the stuff they were going through all the pain they were being put through all the suffering. And that's amazing because my one of my beautiful teachers, Ananda, who both of you know, my yoga teacher,
Yeah.
she keeps saying like choose joy, choose joy. And I think it's taken me many years to really fully understand the power of that because it is a choice that we have. Like even as we're going through the pain and the suffering, like one of the philosophers said, like I think it was Buddha. It was someone that pain is inevitable, but suffering is an option. Suffering is more like the attitude that we have towards the pain that we're gonna have to go through no matter what because we're human, we're alive, and how we can resist that. We can choose to, even if we're going through pain, we can still choose joy. We can still choose to look at the pain that we're going through as like a transformation that's going to make us better. We can choose to be grateful for it. And it's not easy. It's really hard in the moment and it's easier said than done, but that's the practice. That's the practice. And that's why we go to the mat every day and practice our yoga and do build the discipline and do all the things that it will eventually help us in moments that we really need it to choose joy, to choose ways that we can move through the darkness into the light. And nature is a great way to do that and to celebrate. I mean, what better than dancing and singing, ecstatic dance, all of that stuff. Mhm.
It makes me think that it's kind of like we forget the miracle that life is whenever things are really hard.
Mhm.
Like and nature to me reminds me often. Like I see a river or a waterfall and I'm like, what is this? Or taste some really incredible fruit. I love fruit so much. And I'm like, wow, I get to have this experience. Or hug my partner, or these things that I'm like, this is such a miraculous experience that we get to have in this huge cosmos universe that you're like, how does life even rise here? And to like return this love back to nature that
Mhm.
she's in a way given us, it is, I think, the biggest gift that we also get as musicians. It's like we get to write this music to her in a way, and in a
Mhm.
way for us to also continue to remember what
Mhm.
we have, which is incredible.
So great. So thank you so much for sharing that. Something you mentioned about giving back. Because Ben, we spoke about this before about you like a project that you're putting together that's called Reciprocal Action Project. And I want to dive deeper into that. But even that whole idea of reciprocity, I've been saying that a lot because I got very inspired with our previous conversation, Ben, of like how can we give back to the earth? And I cannot help but think about the Queros, the people, the Quechua people in Peru. They speak a lot about reciprocity with the earth, and they call it Aini, Aini, which is literally reciprocity. But the importance of that and how I love how they describe it as everything that we do is literally like going out into the earth and then coming back to it. It's like even our breath, we exhale and that's being taken by the earth and then we receive oxygen from the earth. It's like we're constantly giving our energy into the earth and receiving her, and how to they bring a lot of like emphasis on being constantly conscious of how much we're receiving from the earth, even from our breath to the food that we eat to everything, and how can we constantly be grateful for the earth, even starting in that way, like bringing gratitude to the things that we take for granted, but then going as far as like, what now can I do for you, Mother Earth? Because you've been doing all of these for me, and I've been taking all of these blessings from you since the day I was born. So now what can I do before I leave this planet, make it a little bit better for the people coming after me? Hmm. So I want to hear more about
Yeah,
your idea on that project.
yeah, and that's such a beautiful and simple um, like practice that I think is so absent in Western uh, philosophies, which kind of like, if you think about it, the Western view is like, go out and extract as much as you can and make as much money as you can, and keep it all for yourself if possible. It's like it's the complete opposite view.
Yeah.
It's like let's poison our own environment and just extract everything for the short term gain. Whereas, yeah, an attitude of reciprocity is so much more. It's so much more connected with reality. It's so much more connected with how things really are. Every action that we take has a reaction. Depending on whether you believe in karma,
Mhm.
it's every action that you take is gonna eventually come back to you somehow. So anyway, the reciprocal action project is this idea that we've come up with. It's just an idea right now, but it came out of this sense that we write these songs, we sing about gratitude for the earth, and we sing praises of nature. Um, but often we feel like, because we're traveling around, taking planes everywhere all the time, and we're not always able to really live in a way that we would like to, vis-a-vis nature and the earth, and living in ways that we feel are reciprocal. And so the idea is a simple one. It's just to create opportunities for ourselves to do action days where we do actual work with the earth, whether it's a beach cleanup, or working on a permaculture farm, or doing some kind of social action with a local community, or working with animals locally. We both really love animals.
Mhm.
Um, and then we want to document that process and put it out there, and hopefully inspire other people to do the same. And it's just about kind of living more in integrity with the message of our songs.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I do really believe that art can be kind of this, like, the spark that makes that inspiration come through, and then it's up to us to take that action, the same way that I think plant medicines are,
Yeah.
that spark that wake up that life within us, and then we come out of those ceremonies and we walk that path. We
Mhm.
learn to walk that path better and better every time with more integrity. And I do believe that is how we're also wanting our music to be, that
Mhm.
spark for us, that spark for others, that then takes us out into the world to be the people that we want to be more and more. So
Mhm.
for the music to be the reminder, but for us to be the actors, in the world.
Yeah. To take sacred action, right? So it doesn't stay just a beautiful vision, but we actually act in accordance to the messages and the medicine that we receive. It's so
Absolutely.
powerful. Woo, I feel like there's so much more I want to talk about, and that I had like a couple of questions coming through my mind as we were speaking. And I guess the last one, like the one that came through me right now as we were speaking, it like the key that indigenous people, indigenous tribes, as well as plant medicine what do you think is the key or the importance that they have right now, like in the planet in this moment? Because I know both of you have mentioned how you were pretty like, I don't know if introduced, but at least deepened into your path of awakening that eventually led you to where you are through plant medicine and through sitting with indigenous tribes. So what do you think, what's the wisdom or the message that they hold and like the importance that they have in this time and era for us, for these generations to implement in the planet, and that's needed for the change that we need to go through.
I think if I can make a generalization that most, if not all, of indigenous peoples around the world intuitively understand, is that they are a part of nature, and that they live usually in small communities very close to the land, and they can see what effect their societies are having on their environment, and vice versa. They know, the people in the indigenous people of the Amazon know very well the plants. They know which ones are medicinal, and they know which ones work for certain things. And they have this sense that, oh yeah, when I'm sick, I just go out into nature and I find the right thing that the earth provides me with, and it heals me, it cures me. And so the message that they have for us is realize that you are part of nature, that you are not separable from nature, and therefore love nature, act in reciprocity with it, and be grateful for it, and don't destroy it. It's a pretty simple message, but one which a lot of us have, are very slow to learn.
And this is going to be a little bit more expanded. It's going to include some indigenous people, but I would also say I'm going to kind of open it up to even more. I think one of the things that I see that is rising again, it is this love for the cultures that we come from, not only other cultures. Like I remember growing up in Venezuela, and we loved American culture. And we a lot of times ignored, especially as young kids, our Venezuelan incredible traditions that we had. And I kind of see, as we travel more and more, people being in love with their music and diversity of culture beginning to be cool again and beginning to rise again. And so, yes, the beautiful music of the indigenous people were like, yes, incredible. And then we get the beautiful music of Turkey that we love to visit, or Venezuela. And so just diversity of culture, biodiversity of nature, and kind of returning to the sense that there's a lot of wisdom in this difference that we find if we can really appreciate each other and listen to one another more and more. And then we get just more beauty, more beauty that is really rooted in our own cultures, in our own lands, in our own flavors. And so I think that's another aspect that is rising that I love to see.
I love it too. Like the coming back to our roots. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Ben?
Sorry, yeah, that just inspired me. When you look at nature and you see a really diverse ecosystem, like a really diverse coral reef where there's like a lot of different plants and a lot of different fish and everything, that's a sign that ecosystem is healthy, right? When it's just a monoculture, or when sea urchins just take over the whole coral reef, that's a sign that it's not doing well. And I think the same is true of a human society. When human societies are really diverse and there's a multitude of ideas in a democracy, then you can be sure that things are going pretty well. When everyone is marching in lockstep and there's only one ideology, that's when things start to get dangerous in society. So our music will always celebrate diversity and difference of opinion, and different exotic sounds. And that is the music that I've always been attracted to in my life, and that's always been my way into discovering new cultures and different ways that people think.
I love that. I feel like that's so needed, like having tolerance and having patience. Or there's a word that's skipping my mind right now, but like, how can we be okay with the people that we don't agree with? Like, why do we always have to fight? Like, there's so much fight out there right now. Like, there's so much canceling culture, and you're believing this or that, or vaccines, no vaccines, or you're like Democrat or whatever. It's just been insane for me to watch like the intense division. I, I don't think I've ever witnessed in the past like those levels. Maybe it's because now we're more aware with social media, but it's so insane to see the deep levels of division. And I also feel like there's a pendulum that always needs to happen. Like when humanity or anything is like reaching the light, it also has to pendulum back into the darkness and until it finds a middle point or something. But I feel with everything we've been speaking about, and earlier somebody mentioned, one of you mentioned AI and like finding that, and I feel like AI is rising, but at the same time, humanity itself, like all over the world, because I see that too. I don't know what you said. I come from Mexico, so I feel more and more people that when I was a teenager, everybody wanted to be American, Americanized, and all that stuff. And now people are very proud of being Mexican, and they want to be more Mexican. It's like coming back to our roots. So I feel like, in a way, from all this division and like wanting everything to be equal. People are celebrating also on the other side diversity, but also the fact that AI is rising. A lot of us in the resistance, we're going even deeper into nature, even deeper into ancestral wisdom. So I feel like there's this, in a way, polarization that is happening, like extreme AI division, and then we're going into celebrate all and come back into nature. And my question would be like, how do you see like the future of like, is there a way where AI and ancestral wisdom can merge? And how do you feel like you're doing it in your project in your own way? Like, in technology and ancestral.
um, well, I personally am very worried about AI in general, and especially just seeing recently how AI has affected the music industry. Which, let's be real, like the music industry was already pretty messed up in terms
Mhm.
of like just the wide gaps in between the people who are very successful and everyone else. Just like our society at large, like there's a huge income equality gap, and that is creating all these other problems.
Yeah.
Um, but AI is just like amplifying that even more, and like the productive capacity of AI is so much more and so much faster than humanity can keep up with. Um, but I hope, and that there's an inner knowing that people are always going to want to um, experience art made by other people, because they
Mhm.
know that even if AI can make a very convincing simulation of being a human, it's
Mhm.
not it's not human, and it hasn't struggled, it hasn't loved, it hasn't had loss, because it's not real. It doesn't have a life like we have. And the reason why we like to tell each other stories and watch films starring people, and read books written by people and listen to music made by people, is because we have this deep need to connect with other people, and we're social creatures, and
Yeah.
we like to be able to like put ourselves in the mind of another person for a while to experience what they experience. And
Mhm.
so I always feel like there's going to be an audience for
Mhm.
human made music,
Yeah.
because yeah, and um, a there's always going to be uh, opportunities for people to come together and experience music communally,
Mhm.
because that has been with us since we've been human. That is an ancient technology that societies have used to bind themselves together and break down the barriers between people. And
Mhm.
I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. At least I hope not.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like there's definitely a big question mark as to where we're going. You know, the uncertainty, I think, for a lot of people and for a lot of us is higher all the time, as in what the future looks like. And I sit here and I look into the future and I'm like, blank space. I don't know. What I do know is I think I kind of go back to that sense of like finding our truth and living through our values. I
Mhm.
think I go back to the personal a lot in that space because I have no idea.
Yeah.
And that is like, what is the world I want to see, and what is the
Mhm.
world I believe in, and how do I
Mhm.
put myself in line with that, and how do I allow, I want to listen to art made by humans because I want to hear the crack in the voice. I want to hear, the emotion. I want to see the imperfection in it because to me
Mhm.
that is real.
Yeah.
um and I want real, and
Yeah.
so I live that way. Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel it's so needed right now because what you were saying, Ben, earlier, like identifying what's real, what's not real. Sometimes you can hear a song or something that sounds like maybe a human made it, and then you find out it was AI. So, like, identifying that, and I feel like, yeah, we don't know exactly where it's going to go. Like, everything is kind of up in the air. Our generation is going through a lot of change. Like, we've gone through a lot already. And this AI thing is a whole new thing that we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to figure out how to navigate that. And I feel like I've been meditating on this a lot as well. Um, I feel like what you were saying, Ben, like it can take AI to make a whole album in like less, like minutes, like 5 minutes, less than that, maybe an hour max or something. But humans to make an album, for example, in this case of music, it will take you months. It takes you like to really sit through your stuff, like really sit into like finding that inspiration through your human experience, through sitting hours and hours and hours, not only of just practicing and like mastering your craft, but like really bringing it into the world in a way. And I feel like maybe right now because everything's blurry, people are worried, but I have faith that eventually human-made art of all kinds is going to become even more valuable. Like, I think society hasn't really valued art as much. Like they have this huge gap, right? It's like this specific artists that gain millions of dollars and then everybody else. And it's just like, I feel like now every kind of art, this is my hope at least, is what I'm visualizing, is going to become even more valuable because it's like, oh, we can have AI stuff that's done in like 5 minutes, or we can have real crafted human art that is like almost like this precious gift, like that's gonna become even maybe rare in some ways. And I feel like everything that is handcrafted, like you buy something like a handbag right now that is handcrafted, is going to be more valuable than something that's made with a machine, right? So, in a way, I feel like we can look into the bright side. And I was thinking on how we're already working with technology, like even this podcast is being done through like computers and phones and Zoom. So, and I was thinking about you guys specifically, like your music, because it's electronic music mixed with tribal. So, in a way, it's like we're already having to find that merging of how can we bring the roots, the ancestral, the nature, and merge it into technology in a way that is actually helpful for everybody, that is healing, that it's not like too like separation and fight, but like finding that merging. And I feel like ecstatic dance music, it's a great way to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely feel like, how do we find those bridges? And this is one of the things that we love. We get to have Ben's beautiful trumpet and our voices come together with these electronic beats that is really a modern kind of creation. So it's a pleasure to bring those worlds together.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And one last thing about ecstatic dance, because maybe some listeners have never experienced an ecstatic dance before, and this is what you guys do. So what do you like what's the medicine in ecstatic dance, or what is like the goal? Like when people come to an ecstatic dance, what should they expect, and like what do you think is the actual gift that people can receive from these spaces?
I think the gift for a participant to ecstatic dance is you come with an intention of really letting the music move you and really just giving yourself over completely to the experience. Um, music in general is a pretty ubiquitous thing in our lives now. We hear music all the time when we go walking down the street or we're driving somewhere. There's always literally like there's always music happening, but we don't have that many opportunities to really like single-mindedly experience music while not doing a bunch of other stuff or having a conversation or drinking alcohol or whatever. And I think that actually that just automatically brings the value back to music, because when we do an ecstatic dance, we're actually participating in a ritual that's much older than this idea of ecstatic dance. There's ecstatic dance rituals that go back thousands of years in almost every culture,
Yeah.
where people come together to participate in a ritual that is about, like I said earlier, binding society together and dissolving the barriers between people. And people from different classes of society can come together and merge on the dance floor and become one. And so yeah, as a DJ, again, like there's nothing like it in terms of being able to perform for people who come together for this purpose, because there's no other place where you see one person laughing and jumping and just having the most ecstatic time, and then another person is like crying, and
Yeah.
people are going through all kinds of emotional journeys on the dance floor, and just and everything is welcome. Everything is, there's no wrong way to do it. And so it can be this really like it was for you. You said like it was a really opening, important experience for you the first time.
And the power of free movement as well, just kind of in our bodies as people, we kind of all move in the certain ways that we do all of our things, and what free movement does is that it can get us to places in our body where stuck energy can be. And sometimes not even yoga can get there, because it has to be freer. It has to be like a place where you're actually allowing yourself to go into the weird, the beautiful, the ugly, all those parts. And what I love about ecstatic dance is that not only the permission is there, it's encouraged for you to go into those places and deepen into it, because everyone is doing it. Everyone is actually going in that space as well. And you can also just go there and dance normal, like slow or whatever you want, but you can also just go there and have catharsis actually occur on the dance floor, which is really powerful. And not a lot of places in our society have been built for that particular reason. And with that kind of freedom.
I love that. Like for anybody who's never been to an ecstatic dance, that I think that to me is like what you guys described is the ultimate medicine, because how many places out there in the world do we have where we can just be? Like you said, like you can be crying or you can be dancing ecstatically, or you can just be sitting watching if you want and like moving your head like you would at a bar or something, but you have permission to be wherever you are in the moment, and no one really is going to judge you. Like that's like to me that's like the the rule that's like an unspoken rule within the dance floor. You can like look at someone and laugh because they might be doing weird like faces and like looking like animals, or there might be amazing actual dancers doing epic moves and like someone that you can see clearly is new at dancing, but everybody has a space. There's no like rules for it. And I think that freedom, it's so healing, especially in a society where we're constantly being told we're not good enough, we're too much. Like act this way, be like you said, Ben, like homogenic. Like everybody has to look a certain way and dance a certain way. Everybody have to dance like this and like drink like this, or and it's just like no, you can do whatever you want, whatever feels right for your body in this moment. You just want to shake and like lay in the floor. I've done that too. I just lay in the floor and roll around the floor and shake. That's fine too. And it's allowed and it's permitted. So it's like a deep, for
And
me,
really good for you.
so for me, ecstatic dance has become like one of my greatest prayer places, because I feel like it's the place where I can be in my body fully because with yoga, like you said, there's still certain rules. Like I'm in my body, but it's like with certain constrictions. And it's like what we were speaking about at the beginning, the embodiment of like learning how to inhabit our bodies fully again and like meet the body where it's at. Like, are you feeling you can dance ugly dance, awkward dance, beautiful dance, whatever dance you want, sexy dance, sensual, whatever, it's permitted. And where is your body at? Can you give it permission to express itself and like feel it? Like feel your body. I feel like it's been so healing for me to be in these places. So thank you for creating them. First of all, like it's so needed in the planet right now. And I think there's no coincidence that the ecstatic dances are growing so much all over the world. Like more and more people are becoming like ecstatic dance DJs, but also more and more people want to participate in ecstatic dances, looking for these opportunities, going to festivals. And what you said, Ben, it's so true. It's like something inside of us is reminding us, like this is ancient. This is in my body. This is my DNA. Is like activated when I'm in a space like this because it's like thousands of years in the history of humanity we've come together. Maybe in the past more often around the fire and dance and sing and drummed and moved our bodies to reconnect to ourselves, to reconnect to the earth, but also to reconnect with one another. So so
Yeah,
grateful
and
for the work you guys do.
there's good evidence, of course. Like, you know, it's really hard to uh, know exactly when these things arose, but there's good evidence to suggest that, you know, getting together and dancing around a fire and music and singing actually predates language,
Hmm.
humans, right? And I think it's actually, you know, one encouraging thing that's happening these days is that there are a lot of people who are preferring to go out, you know, to go out and socialize without alcohol, you
Yeah.
know, and do these kind of practices instead. And that's really encouraging because I actually, you know, at a certain level, obviously, like at a certain level, alcohol is just purely destructive. Like it can
Hmm.
destroy your life. And I think the fact that a lot of people, or, you know, the majority of people in the past have relied on alcohol to like loosen them up so that they're not so nervous to connect with people is hopefully kind of that trend is kind of coming to an end, and we can actually come together in the way that we used to by just coming together and dancing and socializing that way.
I love that. So great. So I guess we're getting closer to the end, but before like we close, I have a question that actually one of my friends that's also learning to DJ really wanted me to ask you guys from like the musical perspective and being like how like do you guys, especially like the actual DJ, like how do you read the room and like the people in order to be able to know what to play and how to play it in a way that can reach everybody? Because I feel like it's that container that you're creating, and sometimes like what like the role of the DJ it's so important, like the role of the musician into moving the energies in the room. So how do you navigate that? Like how do you do that? Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a balance, right? Because as a DJ, if you're so laser focused on how everyone else's experience is going, you can kind of lose your own inner compass and like what you want to bring to the experience, because you're, you know, there's that extreme where like you're so in tune with how everyone else is feeling and interacting that you kind of lose what you want to bring to it. So there has to be some kind of balance where I'm having fun, my creativity is flowing, and I'm also receiving, you know, what's happening out there. And I think for me over the years, that's just like evolved into a thing where it's like a constant feedback loop
Mhm.
where I'm taking in what's happening, and I also like have a plan of where I want things to go.
Mhm.
And hopefully those things are interacting in a balance where everything that comes out is what's meant to come out. I don't know if
Cool.
that makes any sense.
Yeah. Like you have a
But
vision, you have a plan, like I'm assuming a loose plan, and then I'm assuming you kind of can shift the vibe depending on how the room's going because you have,
yes.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you can see, especially in an ecstatic dance container, I can see if I press play on a new song that I haven't played before, I can see how people react to it because people are actually there to react to it. They're not standing there
Cool.
with a drink talking to someone. And
Yeah.
so and then based on that reaction, I can be like, oh, okay, maybe I want to mix out of this and go into something completely different, or keep in that same vibe,
Hmm.
or like bring up the energy, or mellow out the energy. So, and it's really important too when everyone is there for say like a 2 hour dance journey. there's got to be there's got to be peaks and valleys, because you can't just like bring it up and keep it up there, because people are just going to get tired out and they're going to eventually lose interest and have to
Yeah.
take a
Hmm.
rest.
For
So
sure.
you have to kind of like have in mind what the experience is like as a dancer, and
Mm.
be like, oh, I'm gonna bring up the energy for 2 or 3 songs, and then like maybe let the energy dip, and let it kind of bottom out so people can rest a little bit before bringing them back up
I think my DJ friends are gonna be really glad to listen to this.
again.
And okay, so before we begin to wrap it up, anything else, any subject we haven't spoken about that you feel like you want to bring to the conversation?
No, I think we covered a lot.
Covered a
We
lot,
did.
I
We hit a lot
know.
of places. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel really happy with all the places we touch that really feel important to us and that really
Mhm.
go into our music and into our collaboration and into what we hope people feel as well as
Yeah.
they're listening to it.
Oh my God, I can't
I
wait for
guess,
everybody to listen.
yeah. I guess I'll just say, so this Semillas de Poder album, a few of the tracks are already released and have been released as singles, but there are a few more that will be new, and it's coming out on January 16th,
Mm.
so in just over a month, and it's a completely self-produced and self-released
Mm.
effort. We're not working with a label for this one, and so we really rely on the support of our
Yeah.
listeners and people to support this album by listening to it and sharing it and hopefully buying it. Um,
Mm.
and we also encourage people, if they don't already, to follow Yemanjo on Bandcamp,
Mhm.
yemanjo.bandcamp.com, because Bandcamp is the best platform for independent artists to support
Mm. Good to
that
know.
music.
Okay.
You can listen, and you can also download high quality from it. And we're also going to be releasing the album a week early on Bandcamp. So if you follow me there, that you'll be the first
Mhm.
to hear the album.
Mhm.
And yeah, we thank you so much for supporting us.
Mhm.
And we hope that you'll have an opportunity to experience this music live. We're going to be touring around the world all of next year. US, Europe,
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, other parts of Latin America. So we hope to get an opportunity to meet you on the dance floor.
Yeah, like is there a place where people can go to see the dates for your tour? Like where exactly you're gonna be?
Yeah, so I have a link tree where I post those dates, and that's linked in my Instagram. I also have a website, yemanjo.com. I'm also on Bands in Town and those other websites that post tour dates. Um, so yeah, you can just follow us on socials, and you'll be kept
And staying
informed
there.
about where we're going to be.
Yeah, and like we've been talking about this. Hopefully it happens, but we might bring him to El Paso slash Chihuahua slash maybe you both would be here. That would be such an honor. So if you're listening and you're from this area, stay in touch. Yeah, amazing. So thank you so much to both of you. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Irene.
Oh,
And yes, and to speak to you again, Ben Yemanjo. Oh my God. It's been such a great conversation. It's been a subject that's also very dear to my heart, the earth. So thank you so much for this beautiful project that you're creating. I'm sure it's going to ripple out and create the beautiful medicine, bring it out into the world like that you've been expecting it to. And everybody out there, go ahead and listen to this amazing music. Get up and drink some cacao and dance, whether it's in your house or wherever it is, to this beautiful music. And yeah, can't wait for it to come out. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Jackie.
All right. And until next time, namaste.
Somos semillas, frutas divinas. Somos semillas de poder.